And this discernment of the good led us to abolish slavery. Even though some of the founding fathers owned slaves, they knew it was wrong. They were...
So they're still good dudes. They're still noble in every way. Because, yeah, they may have raped a few slaves, you know, back in the day, done some very cruel and inhumane things, treated human beings like actual property. But they knew it was bad. Like, deep down in their hearts, they were like, this is wrong. This is wrong. I'm going to keep doing it. Definitely going to keep doing it. And, yeah, but it's probably not all there, you know? Is this Michael Knowles in a cartoon? All right, I have to see both of these. But I just want to see if this one talks about debt forgiveness. Michael Knowles, got him. Obviously, the top line of 10 to 20K forgiveness is going to get the headlines, but this income-based repayment plan rule will have a big impact for how low and middle income borrowers, especially straight out of college, have to pay. Income-based repayment plans have long existed within the U.S. Department of Education. However, the Biden-Harris administration is proposing a rule to create a new income-driven repayment plan that will substantially reduce future monthly payments for lower and middle-income borrowers. The rule would require the borrowers to pay no more than 5% of their discretionary income monthly or on undergraduate loans. This falls from 10% available under the most recent income-driven repayment plan, raise the amount of income that is considered non-discretionary income and therefore is protected from repayment, guaranteeing that no borrower earning under 225% of the federal poverty level and the annual equivalent of a $15 minimum wage for a single borrower will have to make a monthly payment. That is incredible. Forgiving loan balances after 10 years of payment instead of 20 years for borrowers with a loan balance of $12,000 or less. Cover the borrower's unpaid monthly interest so that, unlike other existing income-driven repayment plans, no borrower's loan balance will grow as long as they make money payments, even if the monthly payment is zero because their income is low. That is fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome. Oh, and I'm covering PPP scams on September 12th. Did you see the tweet I made? Are you talking about all the right-wing grifters who talk about, like, oh, government handouts, big government, oh, this is socialism, oh, what have you done, Biden? Is this basically Biden's communist America? And then all of a sudden it's like, money, please. Government money, please. Yeah, we're a bunch of YouTubers and podcasters making fuck tons of cash, but still, money. We need that money, please. We want the government handouts. Yeah. Steven Crowder got $70,000 in PPP loans. Ben Shapiro, I think, got $23,000. Tucker Carlson, I think, was upwards of like 200,000. I looked at anyone who scammed the PPP, politicians, churches. You should look at the right-wing pundits. They didn't scam it. Like, it's completely legal what they did. They're just such monstrous hypocrites because they'll spend all day like shitting all over the very policy that made the PPP loans, come about in the first place, shitting all over Biden, saying that these are just huge fucking government handouts, this is socialism, all this kind of shit. And then immediately it's like, oh yeah, but we'll definitely take them. All these rich podcasters, they'll just be like, oh yeah, please, we'll take all that sweet government cash. We want those loans forgiven. What is with this PragerU? Why aren't you playing? Also, why do you have 1,000 views? Why are comments turned off? What is happening right now? This is the right page. It's the 2.97 million subscribers. Are they just like breaking in real time?
There are few things worse than being called intolerant, inflexible, or close-minded. Who wants to be that? Isn't it far better to be open to everything, dismissive of nothing? Well, not necessarily. Let's frame this a different way. Should we have any standards at all? Or should the standards simply be anything goes? These are new questions. For most of American history, standards of acceptable behavior were generally agreed upon. Today, we can't even agree on the difference.
I was like, this is going to be transphobic, isn't it? Yep, I knew it. I absolutely knew it. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think you have to be tolerant of fascists or Nazis. You don't have to tolerate them. There you go. If you publicly come out against student loan forgiveness, the federal government should come to your house with 87,000 new IRS agents kitted up with backward favorite. I don't know what that is, and force you to repay every single dime you got from the PPP loans that were forgiven. Whoa, all of them? Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Greg Pence, Vern Buchanan, 2.8 million, Kevin Hearn, Roger Williams, Brett Guthrie, Ralph Norman, Ralph Abraham, Mike Kelly, Vicky Hartzler, Mark Swain Mullen, Carol Miller. Now, I just want to cut this off of the impasse, because I know like Destiny is already coming after me for that tweet being like, do you think student loans and PPP loans are the same thing? PPP loans are to help businesses, blah, this is about businesses, blah, the other people are just students. And here's here's the rub on that entire little thing. The PPP loans specifically, they are supposed to be used for businesses under the pandemic to help them get through a difficult time because, again, there's lockdowns, shutdowns, all that kind of stuff. So here's an idea. The government is going to come in and give you money in order to help sustain your business. If you happen to be someone who did not have your business suffer or were continue to be able to work, such as, I don't know, podcasters, streamers, yeah, we didn't really lose the ability to do our jobs. Our jobs kind of stayed the same. If anything, people were watching us way more than they were before because everyone was sitting at home. So what am I going to do? I mean, do I have to sit here and watch Netflix, or could I watch that Beefcake Hassan scream at people for like 8 hours a day? I think I'll choose that. And so all of a sudden everyone's views start going up and their numbers start going up. In a time like that, do you think it's appropriate for Steven Crowder to be like, I need $72,000 for my multi-million-dollar YouTube industry. This is what I need right now. I need that $72,000, and then I need it to be forgiven just to get through this, entire thing. On the majority report, they suggested you may have had the wrong Ben Shapiro when you tweeted out about those conservative commentators for PPP loans. It was Matt Leck. Oh, they would know it, eh? Thinks you have the wrong Ben Shapiro. I am not Benji Schwebelbob in that tweet. Really? There's another Ben Shapiro that runs an industry? I could be wrong. Maybe I'll have to look it up. I don't want to delete that tweet, though. I love that tweet. Wait, it's right here. I mean, this is just someone tweeting out the same thing, though. But you're saying it's a different Ben Shapiro. One of the rules for PPP forgiveness is that you couldn't find someone to fill an open position. They could get it forgiven. So companies were leaving job postings open for 6 months, not trying to actually fill it with a scam. Oh, wow. Huh. The Daily Wire one is legit for sure. Yeah, I think there's only one Daily Wire, and there's only one Steven Crowder LLC.
Between men and women. Those on the progressive left seem dead set on unsettling just about every settled question, all in the name of being open-minded.
So, this one's very, very easy, as every PragerU video is to debunk, because it goes like this. As we grow, as time goes on, we, human beings, use processes to understand the world around us. We use things called the scientific method, observation, and then we learn new things. Sometimes we get it wrong, which is why we update along the way, and as we learn more things, the world becomes infinitely more impressive and mysterious and strange, to be completely fair. I would be lying if I told you I understood how quantum physics works, what string theory truly is, what quantum foam is, quantum entanglement, dark matter. They fascinate me, absolutely fascinating, but I don't fully understand them. It's very hard for me to wrap my head around some of those things, especially when you start talking about how small the universe can be. But we used to think, way back in the day, that we were actually literally the center of the universe, that we were the center and that everything else was spinning around us, so that we were literally we were the show. This was it. Earth. This planet. This is it. And we recognized through observation, through people looking into the sky and seeing the way stars moved and patterns, that wasn't the case. That we, in fact, were not the center of the universe. That we were one of many planets rotating around the sun. Now, that's generally, broadly speaking, wildly accepted outside of the flat earthers who, they do their own thing and they don't really bother many other people, except for that one guy who tries to rocket ship himself into the sun itself. But he blew himself up, I think. So, rest in peace, Rocket Man. But anyways, our knowledge and understanding of the universe, it increases, it becomes better, and we, as a result, become a better civilization. We get more advances in scientific endeavors. We can improve the quality of our health. We can improve the yields of our crops. We can do a whole bunch of many splendid, amazing things thanks to our understanding of the known universe. Just because at this moment in time, you, and by you I mean conservatives to the right, aren't willing to accept what is now broadly understood by the scientific community to be, this is gender. Gender is a social construct. We invented it. We have changed over time what exactly our characteristics and traits for either gender should be. The very traits that may be considered to be incredibly feminine back in the day when men were wearing wigs and makeup and throwing hankies into the air during the Renaissance and all that kind of stuff. Like, yes, that was certainly what we call not a man's man by today's standards. You might be like, oh, well, men used to be men. Whatever happened to that? So the standards change for genders, and we no longer need to associate genders with genitals. Yeah, because that is kind of a strange, rigid construct that kind of doesn't make any sense. Once intersex people come along, then it's kind of like, oh, well, what gender Do they default? Should they be? I don't know what's happening here. Can't process. So we've advanced our knowledge of this. You don't want to accept that. And that's kind of where we're at. So you think now that we're unsettling a settled question rather than making an observation of society. We live in society.
Can your mind be
TM.
so open that your brains fall out? Do we need to tolerate every crackpot view under the sun, no matter how harmful?
So, and this is probably the only place where he'd be able to interject with something like, what about times when science was doing fucked up shit, like eugenics or stuff? We do not, broadly speaking, we don't need to accept any single conclusion that people come to based on their observations. That's different. And if people want to use what they observe to try and push a political agenda or a narrative or a racist agenda, which of course that's what eugenics effectively was, then yes, that is wrong. Broadly speaking, the scientific community does build upon itself. It is a building block. There are scientists who use prior work and then improve upon it. That's one of the reasons why it is not rigid. That it is something that is evolving and changes over time. If it wasn't, well, then we would still be stuck in like the Bronze Age trying to figure stuff out.
No matter how false? Do we need, for example, to keep an open mind on murder? Of course not. That question's settled, and every citizen has an obligation to follow the law.
This is such a weak argument. Murder's bad, right? So we probably shouldn't allow trans people to identify they want to identify because murder's bad.
Even if someone doesn't want to. Even if he identifies as a serial killer.
Oh, the one joke. God damn it. Also super fucked up. Super fucked up. Yeah, their language and rhetoric is they're ramping things up in their hatred.
More controversial example. Consider the case of Drag Queen Story Hour, an activist organization that sends transvestite men wearing sexualized clothing into elementary schools.
No, it doesn't. It's in the name. Did you not read the name? Oh, you don't know what this is, honey. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Anyways, when it comes to this, drag is a performance. It's typically done by a man who dresses up to look and appear as a woman and will then act in character as that woman. They are not, by definition, trans. All there is to it.
In the name of tolerance, must we allow men to strap on stilettos and wiggle around in front of toddlers, even when our communities object? Even when we know that it's wrong?
All of the intolerance of the right and the bigotry of the right is typically involving things that they don't actually interact with. Have you ever noticed that? Like, it's like, I fucking hate the gays, those disgusting monsters. They're always doing gross shit. It's like, do you have gay friends or hang out in gay clubs or hang out with gay people? No, I never would. No, they're disgusting. They're covered in poo. Oh, I hate the gays. Well, why does this concern you so much? It's not something you ever have to deal with. If you're not gay and you don't interact with gay people, then what is this? Like, what are we doing? Like, can you not just let them enjoy their lives and you can hate them in your own time? Do you have to do it so out and proud, you know?
It's a little bit tougher for the tolerance crowd. Not because the answer is obvious, it is, but because any way you answer, someone's views are not going to be tolerated. If we answer, yes, we do need to tolerate Drag Queen Story Hour, then we are refusing to tolerate the wishes of parents and taxpayers.
The parents who bring their kids to those events are the parents who want to bring their kids to those events. It is not a mandatory thing. No one is forcing parents to bring children to those events. By the way, those events, have you watched footage of them? Have you ever seen it? It's people reading stories to kids and playing musical instruments, playing the violin. It's like, it's unbelievably wholesome when you watch it. So yes, I don't happen to be someone who does drag performances. I am also not trans, but I would definitely bring my kids to a Drag Queen Story Hour. It wouldn't matter if the person was someone in drag, if it was a trans person or whatever. I was just like, it looks adorable. It looks amazing. Like, I just in the same vein, I would bring them to a story hour that was run by a straight cis dude. You know, and statistically, he has way more likelihood to cause harm to kids than the trans people or the gay people do in any way.
Who don't want their public property used in drag shows for kids. If we answer no, We're refusing to tolerate the wishes and behavior of the transvestites who want to perform in public schools.
I saw an
There is no
ocelot
world
today. Oh
in
man,
which the
ocelots are
answer
so
to this
cool.
question accommodates and tolerates everyone and everything. So the question that
So they're straight up doing this fast shit now, right? This is, you know, it's worded very carefully, but it's like, we cannot tolerate this. We cannot tolerate them. This no more shall pass. We're gonna have to take a stand.
divides us is not whether every public behavior must be tolerated. The question that divides us is which public behaviors should be tolerated and which should not. For most of American history, if a man dressed up in sexual clothing to perform for children, he'd be arrested. For centuries,
It's not sexual clothing. We're like, have you seen the Drag Queen Story Hour? They dress like princesses. They like, it could. Ugh.
America had
This one's
refused to
breaking me.
tolerate all sorts of bad things, such as obscenity, the incitement to violence, and public nudity, even when such laws and limits have been repealed or gone unenforced.
It used to be legal in America to own and possess another human being. It's like, I'm hoping you'll agree. I don't know. This could be a reach with this motherfucker, that it's a good thing that's no longer permitted, that has changed, that we have become more tolerant of, calling out that behavior. You might word it that way.
It isn't as though some sort of pure tolerance has blossomed in their place. Instead, old intolerance has been replaced by new intolerance. 50 years ago, a teacher might be fired for teaching the Communist Manifesto in school. Today, a teacher could be fired for teaching the Bible in school. 10 years ago, if you called a
So wait, are you saying it's bad? Saying it's a bad thing that a teacher could be fired for teaching the Communist Manifesto? I get it.
man a woman, you'd probably get a punch in the nose. Today, if you refuse to call a man a woman, you might find yourself banned from social media, expelled from school, or out of a job. So then who decides what those...
I mean, you could just not be a dick and call a woman or a man a man. Could do that. This really feels like, I don't know, some horrifying scenario of your own design. The boot to the face. It's kind of like that same, like, it used to be back in the day, you could call black people the N-word. We all did it. Everyone did. And then why did that stop? And suddenly it's intolerant to no longer call black people the N-word or something like that. I can't wrap my head around that. Why did we change? Things were perfect back then.
limits of toleration should be. Until relatively recently, the answer was, we the people decide. It sounds quaint now, but we had what were once called community standards. And what were those standards based on? The short answer is tradition. That is, what has worked well in the past.
Are you going to take that to its logical conclusion? I mean, again, slavery was very profitable for the slave owners. So tradition. I mean, it's just the good old days. Hey, the founding fathers, most of them were slave owners. Tradition, right?
Today, we seem to live in a world with no reference to the past. We live in...
That's so ironic for conservatives to say that, considering they're the ones who just want to erase history. It's like, hey, can we teach you a little bit about American history and kind of the atrocities that were committed, the genocide of indigenous peoples, the enslavement of black people, stuff like that. And it's like, oh God, no, this is CRT. This is racist. This is racist against white people. You cannot do this.
What British journalist Douglas Murray has dubbed Year Zero. It is presumed that we are much smarter than all those who lived before us. This is a dangerous way of thinking because it's not rooted in anything, and it can be uprooted by the next political fad. Of course, not everything that was done in the past was good or ought to be preserved into the future.
Well,
for centuries, slavery was commonplace.
Good.
But it wasn't good.
Okay.
But tradition is the anchor
Michael Knowles.
that helps us just...
So we have a bar now. Yep, he's seen my bar, he's met it, and he's gone a little bit further, and that's probably where he's gonna sit. He's like, well, slavery, the one bad thing, and then everything was perfect for a while, up until the fact that trans people came around.
Discern the good. It avails us of the wisdom of the ages, and this discernment of the good led us to abolish slavery. Even though some of the founding fathers owned slaves, they knew it was wrong. They were...
So they're still good dudes. They're still noble in every way. Because, yeah, they may have raped a few slaves, back in the day, done some very cruel and inhumane things, treated human beings like actual property. But they knew it was bad. Like, deep down in their hearts, they were like, this is wrong. This is wrong. I'm going to keep doing it. Definitely going to keep doing it. And, yeah, but it's probably not all there,
Anchored in the biblical idea that all men are created in the image of God. And that tension eventually guided the country toward abolition. If we're going to overturn social norms, the burden of proof that radical social
America, that's how it happened? I've been reading my history books wrong. Yeah, so there wasn't even a civil war or anything. It was basically just like that people reinterpreted their words, and everyone was like, we know this is wrong. And then they're like, oh, but look at the parchment there, the paper. It says all men are created equal. So we're probably not going to keep doing the slavery thing. Yeah.
changes are going to make things better should be on the revolutionaries, not on the defenders of tradition, the conservatives. The conservatives have over 3,000 years of history behind them. The Bible, the
I was
Magna
about to say,
Carta,
what, the Bible?
English common
The Bible is not historical? What are you talking about? I mean, there's some references in there to historical things that did exist. There's also a story about how God fucking genocides everything. Everything. Yeah, he's just like randomly is like, hey, by the way, I'll spare you, build a boat and load the boat with everything, and then we're going to create the biggest incest ever because one of each animal is basically going to need to procreate. Yeah, I know I made like 900,000 different kinds of beetles, so it's going to be very tedious, and you're going to have to build a big boat, but you better do that. And there's a why. Well, I'm going to do a genocide on everything. I'm going to flood the earth. I'm going to flood it all so everything dies. It's, I don't know, loyalty or something. I'll work it out later. Either way, you better get going on that boat. Boat's coming up. And it's like, okay. And then he comes and he does it. And then afterwards, you can look up and be like, did you think when you were trying to do the genocide that maybe you should have, I don't know, salted the water a bit more so that everything in the ocean was completely fine? Because this isn't really a genocide. It's just kind of a genocide of the mammals. Like, everyone else would have been totally fine. In fact, they probably had a better life because the water levels just would have gone up a little bit, and then the fish and the dolphins, man, they're like, this is fucking amazing. This is stupendous. Thanks, God. Get some true believers in there. But it is what it is,
law.
Oh, and enjoy, again, having sex with your relatives forever, because in essence, that's what you got to look forward to. You basically, hopefully, you brought more than just one woman. You didn't, eh? Okay, one woman. All right, well, I mean, your kids are going to have sex with the mom, and I don't know, figure it out. Anyways, I got to do a genocide of basically all the land creatures. Just the land creatures. Fish are dope.
The American Constitution, the Gettysburg Address. I'll take that over Drag Queen Story Hour any day. How about you?
Well, I mean, one of them has instructions on how to kill children if they speak out against you, and has quite a lot of rules about how to own and treat your slaves. So I'll probably pick the Drag Queen Story Hour. I'll be honest. Between that and the Bible, yeah, the Bible's pretty boring too. Until you get to Revelations. Revelations is fucking, it's on fire. But up until that point, it's just a lot of Ezekiel begat so and so, who begat Abraham, who begat, and they're just like, okay, how many times can people beget each other? There's so much begetting.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback, because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.